Hello, everyone. Welcome to this very first episode of Let's Talk series. With me, V. Sridhar, a think and grow rich success coach and a relationship marketing expert. It's a series in which you will get to hear from experts coming in from various fields, sharing their knowledge, experience, and journey to inspire you all and enrich your minds. Today, in Let's Talk Resilience, I am happy and delighted to have with me Laura Everest, a resilience and Gallup strength coach, to inspire you all. Let me now bring up Laura before I say anything more. Hello there.
Hello.
Laura,
Nice to be
welcome
with you
to
tonight. Hi.
Resilience with Vishri there. I'm delighted to have you join me in this show this evening. How are you?
Thank you. I'm really good, thank you, and I'm looking forward to this with you today.
Great, fantastic. So, Laura, I would like you to say a few words about yourself quickly, about who you are and what you do, before we get on to sharing more about and talking about resilience. So, please go ahead
Okay,
and tell me.
I'm Laura. I've been living in Dubai for, I think this is our 13th year. I have two rather grown-up children and a husband, four big dogs and a cat. So we practice, well, with the animals, conflict management on a regular basis, which is all good fun. So we're living here, and a bit about me. I started my career a long time ago at Harrods. I was there for 11 years, where I kind of was involved with building and managing large teams. So I've always been in a management position, and I very much was concentrating on building people's strengths and making them shine. And I kind of moved into a coaching position. And over the last few years, or the last 30 years, traveling around with my husband, I've been coaching, working on women's empowerment. And when I came to Dubai, I joined a training company here and worked as a training consultant. So that's kind of what I did until, as we're here to talk resilience, I'll share in a bit. I had a huge accident some time back, and it refocused me in terms of becoming a Gallup strengths coach, and with a particular speciality in resilience. And that's what we're going to be sharing a bit more this evening.
Exactly. So, one thing, the reason I brought Laura here today as my featured presenter is the reason being Laura is not here to share with you bookish knowledge on resilience. I think we have the dictionary to tell us what resilience is about, basically bouncing back from an adverse situation. Laura is actually going to share with you her journey, her story about how life put her completely on the test and acid test, really, and how she has been coping with that. So, Laura, please go ahead and share with our viewers about your journey and what happened with you.
Sure. So, as I said to you, there was me happily doing my leadership consultancy role and being very comfortable with what I was doing. But in my spare time, I'm really sporty, and I used to do a lot of running. And one morning, I was just on September the 11th, by the way, a little bit of a significant time. And I was just on a morning run before work. And unfortunately, I was hit by a car and I was thrown 30 feet. I sustained really bad injuries. So my left foot came off. Oh, my right foot came off, actually. My left one was completely bent backwards. I separated my hamstring. I lost half my arm. I fractured the other wrist, broke my elbow. I fractured or dislocated my fingers. I fractured my back. And as you can imagine, when you go running, the clothes that you're wearing don't really protect you from gravel in the road. So I was completely covered in gravel and not a lot else. So really managed to do a damn good job. And as my mother always said, if you're going to do something, do it properly. And I think I really did. So I don't thankfully remember being hit, but I do remember lying in the road and wondering what I was doing there, and recognizing that I must have been hit, because I'd have no reason to be there otherwise. And there were a lot of people around me, and there was an amazing Indian lady whom I never found out who she was, but she was wonderful, trying to help get everything organized. And everyone was saying, stay with us. And I thought, well, where do they think I'm going? And then it occurred to me that perhaps they thought I was going to die. And I thought, am I? And I thought, you know what? In that moment, the first thing is I made up my mind, absolutely not. I have a young family. I've got a great job. I've got loads I want to achieve in this life. And I am so not ready to go anywhere just yet. So I just decided at that point that, just as I could do what I did well, there would be people out there who could fix me. And I just accepted that. And I have to say, thereafter, it was surprisingly calm, probably shock as well. And I was able to talk to the people around me and get them organized to get saying about the ambulance, and to call my husband, and to organize for somebody to go in to be able to run the training program I'd been planning to do that day. And it was all terribly normal, really. And then obviously I got to the hospital, and there was I had about 12 different people working on different parts of me, and it wasn't very comfortable, but they were brilliant. And obviously then I spent a long time in surgery and so on and so forth. So that was the day, but that was 7 years ago. And so far since then, I have had 17 surgeries to rebuild me. I have so much metal, I think I'm the real bionic woman, or I'm getting there at any rate. And I think my journey, it's not simple. As a trainer prior to my accident, I have a lot of knowledge and experience. And I would train about resilience, and I would say it's about bouncing back. But what I've recognized is that you do bounce back if you're having just a little wobble. But the reality is, when we're honestly going through a really tough time, there's no bounce. It is a hard, dedicated, consistent effort to get yourself back to where you want to be. And I have to say, I've done this now 17 times. And during this period, it has taught me so many things about coping, and about, we can read credible people, Navy SEALs and famous people who've done all these things, but it never thought, well done you. But that's not me. So I've actually learned how I cope, and how ordinary folk like us who just have a job and a family, how they manage, what you need to do. And so I've really learned, and I hoped I could share just a little bit of those experiences with you all tonight, and maybe make some suggestions of things that you might find helpful. So what I did is, after I'd had this accident, I was obviously going through the process of further surgeries and, kind of rehealing. I have to say to you, actually, that I was so focused about this, that I was out, although I was completely, covered and swathed in bandages and whatever else, I was actually allowed to leave the hospital in 2 weeks. And even though I lay in my bed with everyone coming round and clients coming to the house, I started working when I came out of the high dependency ward, and I delivered my first training to 80 merchandisers 11 weeks after the accident, in my wheelchair, completely bound, but I did it, and it was successful. So it is possible to concentrate and manage to move things forwards. But over the time, I've learned how to, I've studied positive psychology, I've studied appreciative inquiry, and then more recently, well, in the last 5 years, I became a Gallup strengths coach, because what I recognized is that when you are in a really difficult situation, at the end of the day, there's a lot of people around you who can support you and can offer various things. But the only person that can really heal you is you. And so it was really understanding how I was doing this, what strategies I was using, and really how to keep using them moving forward, because I'm still not fixed yet. I have a lot more surgery ahead. So it's just understanding how that all works and understanding the background of where it all comes from, and how we think and why we think in certain ways and what our natural toolkit of resources are, has made all the difference.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, probably taking a look at you when someone would meet you, no one would have any idea about what you've gone through, right?
No, they won't. And in actual fact, I actually, because I'm permanently disabled, I have a disability badge in my car. And when I park in disabled spots, people look at me as if to say, well, I don't know why she's there. But the reality is, actually, although I manage really well, I have to say, I can't remember a day when I wasn't in pain. If I sit down for a while, then I stand up. My foot doesn't want to move. I struggle a lot, but over time you get used to it, and pain and difficulties sit on another level. And more than that, I think our lives, whatever they are totally down to what you want them to be. And if you want to live a life of misery and disruption, it can happen. But majority of us want to be happy and do as much as we can in the time we've got. And I'm just the same. So I look at ways on how I can manage that so that I can do the things I want to do.
Wow. So we have viewers joining us in, and we have Ashish saying, good to see you, Sridhar and Laura. We have Tarun Chadda saying, good evening. And we have Ashish saying, you're truly an inspiration. So, yeah, you truly are. Tell me something. The Laura before the accident and the Laura post the accident. What difference?
The Laura before the accident was not so dissimilar, because I have huge energy and I rush about and I do so many things. So I think that from that respect, who I am and the things I love to do and the fun I enjoy and all those things, none of that has changed. But what really has changed is an absolute recognition that we are all a lot more vulnerable than perhaps we would like to admit to be. But we are so much stronger than we ever can imagine we are. And the point is, and this is what I've learned actually through my accident, through my reserves, and through strengths, because as I was saying, we're all born with the predisposition to be better at some things than others. We have a kind of a free natural toolkit of resources that we can tap into. But the reality is, unfortunately, most of us kind of live a half-life. We're so used to what we do well, we often underappreciate or we undervalue what we do, or we don't know how to fine-tune it to really get to where we want to be. And this is the thing that when I recognized that for me, I was digging into natural resources that were getting me over every setback, I suddenly realized, hey, hang on, there's a power in this. I need to understand this better so I can use it better and achieve more. And that's why I became a Gallup Strengths. Two of my strengths are focus and achiever. So for me, this is what I really channeled into in order to, every time I met a setback, I thought, how do I get over this? What am I focusing on? Where am I going with this? And how do I make it happen? I have a ranger, which is a great organizer. So all these things, I utilize them to get me back into where I needed to be. And I think if I make... Sorry, tell me.
I will be coming to that in terms of linking the Gallup strength and that. Before that, I want to ask you, is it natural or is it the environment that makes a person resilient, in your opinion? In terms of, is it someone naturally more resilient, and or like they become more resilient or less resilient because of the environment in which they have been brought up? What is your opinion?
Well, I think here's the thing. I mean, at the end of the day, part of it is genetic because our strengths are unique to us. So some people may be born naturally predisposed to have strengths or natural talents that help them in terms of resilience. So maybe you have high positivity, for example. Maybe you have achiever or various things that can help you. If you have something like empathy, you're more likely to take on everybody else's feelings and absorb their feelings and struggle. And that can possibly be a detriment in terms of resilience because it's harder for you to manage. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter whether you were bestowed with this gift or not. All of us can learn it, and that is a fact. I may have had a predisposition to be optimistic, but honestly, truly, I can tell you that some of the things that have happened have tested me like you can't believe. And I'm no Pollyanna, but I really do try and concentrate on positivity. But there are definitely strategies that you can take. So no matter whether it's a gift or no matter your circumstance or environment, you can definitely leverage things to keep resilient. Everybody can do it. I absolutely promise you.
Okay, fine. So what I understand from you is whether we have the inborn quality of being resilient or not, every single person has got uh, the skills inside them to develop that and grow that, right? To become
Yes.
more resilient.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So
I mean, I think there's a few things, to be honest. Okay, so in order to be honestly, truly, for me, it's that there's a few things I want to just share. The first thing you've got to be able to do is to know yourself. So you've got to be able to recognize what is the way I generally think about things. Am I somebody who tends to see the positive side, or am I somebody who tends to be possibly a little bit less optimistic about what I see? Perhaps I query things a lot more. I'm a lot more cautious in my mindset. So how do I react to things? Do I generally get over things quickly? Do I know what I'm good at and what helps me get over things? What kind of things hold me back or stop me succeeding? So it's being really diving into your own emotional intelligence and understanding yourself and how you think and recognizing the way you cope with things. So that's the first thing you've got to do is to know that, because that then gives you a benchmark on how to proceed moving forward. So then you're able to look at areas where you know that you are naturally, have a talent or an opportunity to do well, and you build on those. But you recognize also what things hold you back and think, how do I get around those things then to manage better? So, for example, my strengths is activator. Activators like to make things happen, turn things into actions, ideas, talk into action. Well, sitting in a wheelchair, and I was in a wheelchair, unfortunately, for, nearly 5 months, it killed me because I really lack patience because I want to get on and I want to do. And when that strength is frustrated in me, I get really upset about it. So patience for me was a huge problem. It still is, it still challenges me. And I have to work on that because it then makes me miserable and frustrated, and then that shows up as a weakness. So I have to learn how to manage it. So that's the first thing. Get to know yourself and what you can do. The other thing is we all have our lens through which we view the world. Okay, so that's based on all our experiences and skills, everything we've ever done in our life. We see things in a certain way. But unfortunately, or unfortunately, what we see and what we understand by that, how we think, everything we think about affects the way we feel and the way we behave and act. So we also have to think about the fact that when we are in situations and we could feel upset, are we people who, what is our inner dialogue? What are we saying to ourselves? How do we perceive situations? because a lot of people can get stuck in the, oh no, I can't, it's not my fault, I can't do anything about this, I'm really stuck here, the universe is conspiring against me, there's nothing I can do. But actually, we have a lot more control than we think we do. But it's about thinking positively, but also about opening your mind to see something's a successful outcome. Because if you're only going to be somebody that sees negatives very easily and concentrates on what's negative, you're only ever going to see that, and you're not going to see solutions. So if you can think about where your mindset is, we can also challenge the way we think and say, actually, is our inner dialogue helping us? Is it useful? Is it accurate? Is it true? Is there another way I can see things? And then we work on that so that we can actually change our mindset a bit and see things more optimistically. Because if you do not have an optimistic mindset or try to build one, it is very, very difficult to be resilient. You need to practice that over and over, because when you're set back and in a really low place, you really need to know that you can challenge yourself out of that. And the next thing is, if you don't mind me saying, the next thing is also to understand, and then this is something I think is really important, is to know your purpose. What is it in life that you're wanting to achieve? What is it that really matters to you? What motivates you to get out of bed every day? And the reason I say this is because when you're really challenged and you're really unhappy and things are really, really tough, it can be difficult to feel positive. But if you know why it really matters to you to do something, for me, it's like an invisible rope that I cling onto when things are tough. And so I say to myself, come on, it doesn't matter if you don't know how you're going to do it. Remember, this is so important to you as to why you want to do it. So just go with it. Put one foot in front of the other somehow, and you will get back on track. And that has got me back every single time that I've been kicked back. And so, I say to everyone, please, if you don't know your purpose, you need to think about that, because it's really important. So 3 key things.
Very inspiring, because there are a lot of people out there who are probably not giving it a shot. They're just getting bogged down by the situation. I like the thing what you said about putting one foot in front of the other and just keep that going. So let me take a few viewers who have joined us in and what they say. Hello, Sri and Laura, says Noshin Yakub. Umesh Agarwal says, hello, Sridhar and Laura. And then Manisha G. Bishe, she says, listening to that story itself is giving me goosebumps, Laura. That's so courageous. The spirit in you is amazing, Laura, says Umesh. Hello, Laura and Sridhar, Rasika. Bharat Jetani, hello, Sri and Laura. Inspirational talk, Laura is a living example of resilience in true sense, says Noshin. And a few more. We have Ron Malanga says, Laura, you are inspiring. Sophia Bhatti says, hi guys. Jigar Shah says, hello guys. Ishwar says, greetings. Sri Vidya says, well said, Laura. Then Ashish P. Singh has a question for you. We will take it up in some time, a little later. I request all the viewers to post your questions if you have any for Laura, and I will ask her to share her thoughts on that very soon. So yes, Laura, how would you connect the Gallup strength to resilience in terms of, is it, I heard about how it was detrimental, where your activator was kind of making it difficult for you to become resilient. How does this work in terms of, is it, does it help you the strength? And yeah, please go.
So we're all born, as I said, with a natural predisposition to be better at some things than others, okay? And we all have our own unique toolkit inside us of things that we can do. What Gallup strengths do is they kind of recognize on it's kind of put into an assessment is done, where it kind of categorizes your talents down from 1 down to 34. 1 being or the top few being the ones that kind of your go-to, the ones that you use over and over, your natural way of feeling, thinking, behaving, all the way down to the bottom, which are things that are just areas of non-talent for us. We're not talented at everything. Okay, so what we have to look at is a couple of things. Is one, we will always succeed best from where we're naturally strong. If we can learn anything we want to learn, but if we start it from an area where it's not a natural talent for us, we can achieve a certain level and then we can't really improve. Somebody else who has that as a top strength will always be better than us because it comes naturally, freely, and easily, and they just do it better. So the thing is recognizing the areas where you're naturally strong and thinking, do I use them? What I find as a strengths coach is that the majority of people honestly don't know half their talents. They don't know how to utilize them. They're sitting in a half state. And I look and think, oh my days, you've got so much you can do here. So it's about recognizing where they can work for you. So for example, as I said, focus and achiever, two of my strengths. I zone in on those all the time. When I have a setback and I have to think, okay, how am I going to manage this? I use, and I'll come back to the circle of influence and circle of concern in a minute, because that's something I use all the time. But the first thing I do is I've got to have a routine. I've got to have a structure to my healing. So what am I going to do? My focus tells me where do I need to go? What do I need to put in place? My achiever gives me tick off lists that I check that I'm on track with where I want to be. My activator is there telling me, come on, let's get it into actions. What do you need to do? I have a ranger, which means I'm a good organizer. So I'm looking at the best way to get things done. Communication is one of my top strengths, which is why I love to go around talking about this and writing books about it. And my top strength is maximizer, which is seeing talent in myself and in others and actually enabling myself to become my best self. So I'm constantly looking at how I can elevate my strengths. How do I use them better? How can I tap in to make them work for me? But obviously, we all are going to be weaknesses, by the way, are not the opposite of strengths. The opposite of strength is a non-talent. We can't be great at everything. But a weakness is where something is getting in the way of your success. So that's often when our strength is frustrated. So as I said, for me in the wheelchair, whoa, it was honestly worst thing ever. In fact, I've just been told by the surgeon that he wants to ideally do surgeries in both my legs and said, you know what, let's do them at the same time. And I said, you know what, no way. I just cannot go back in the wheelchair. So do one after the other. I'm really quick on crutches. And I can cope in a plaster cast, but sitting in a wheelchair, it's not going to happen. So the thing is learning where your strengths can frustrate you and how it shows up then as a negative behavior. And that's when, that's equally as important as knowing your strengths, because you've obviously, if your weaknesses are holding you back, you've got to mitigate around that as well. So it's understanding that and being able to elevate them in the right direction to get what you need.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is it's the people who don't know what their strengths exactly are, although they have their top 5 strengths. Some of them could be coming in aid of being resilient, and some could be detrimental in terms of, like, if they learned how to use it, they can probably channel it in the right way. That's what I'm hearing. Yeah.
Well, your strengths can enable you to do anything. So the thing is, if you want to do something, the first thing comes from the mindset of, I want to make this happen. That's got to come first, okay? And you've got to know why you want it to come first, or why you want it to happen, and that's your purpose. Why does it matter to you? So those are 2 things you've got to sort out. Then afterwards, this is your toolkit for actioning it to make it happen. How do I do it? What resources am I going to use to get there? And there are loads of what do you call it? Science and positive psychology tips and strategies that I can share of practicing all sorts of things with regard to resilience. But then this is your natural toolkit is sitting there waiting for you to use it. So if you learn how to use it really well, I always think of it as a bit like a puppeteer, when you have the puppet on the strings and, you can lift one string and the arm will move and lift another. If you learn how to use it right, the puppeteer can make the puppet dance. And that's being able to use different things because the strengths work together. So it's understanding how you do that for yourself, how you pull the things together to make yourself work in the most effective way to achieve what you need. So that's really how it works. And you can use that for anything. Resilience is one of the key areas because that's something that I have obviously what we're talking about tonight, where I have a vast amount of experience.
Okay, we have Rasika Palekar says, amazing example of real life situations, and it is so true about purpose you mentioned and the mindset conditioning, really inspiring. And we have a LinkedIn user says, Laura Sri, hi Laura and Sri. And we have Laura, have seen your journey and what you have overcome and achieved and still going. Let me take a question from one of the viewers and then we will move on. So Ashi says, how do we handle fear and the feeling of not being enough?
I can tell you that fear is always there. And the reason why, because, we as humans, through evolution, we are naturally, we want to stay away from circumstances that are threatening to us. And we want to kind of move towards the things that are rewarding and we feel comfortable and confident in. So the reason we feel fear, and fear is, just an emotion, all emotions are there to serve as guides or suggestions of ways to act. But it doesn't mean that we are stuck in that feeling. Okay, so fear is a feeling. It's not. We don't have to have it, but it is one of the emotions. And the point being is that when we feel that fear, it's trying to tell us something. And normally it's telling us that I see something as a threat. Why? Because I don't know what the outcome can be. I don't know if I can control it. I don't know if I've got the resources to do it. And it's that I don't know which makes us frightened. But the point is, actually, we can't always be sure that we're going to know everything. We just can't. I have been frightened on many things that I've had to deal with. I've been, I don't know. I still face the possibility that I may have to have my feet amputated down the line. I mean, I'm now, every time I'm at the edge of cutting edge surgery. So, every time the surgeon's got something new, it's done. And I have great surgeons. But I don't know. There is that, I guess, that fear that it will happen. But the thing is, then use that fear, harness that anxiety to make it work for you. It's a feeling. So what can you do? What can you do? And sitting in a comfort zone doesn't always help. And this is where I would say to you is, don't worry about what you aren't. Worry about or think about what you have. What resources have you got that you can work on? So one of the things I strongly recommend is that, we all have fears of things. We all have things that concern us. And some of you may be familiar with Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of the things he talks about in there is our circle of influence and our circle of concern. And he says we all have things that concern us, that worry us, that keep us up at night, that, make us feel terrible. And he said, look, they're out of our control. So what we need to do is look at each one of those things that are upsetting us and say, do I have any influence over any of these? Do I have any control over any of these? And often if you look at each of the little things you're concerned about, 9 times out of 10, there is an action or something that you can do to influence it in a better way. And that's what he says is put that in the center circle, and that's called your circle of influence. And he said, when you're working in that circle, fear becomes less because you see things that you are in control of, you can manage, you have actions for. And it makes you feel in control of of your life. The things that you have no control over at all, he says, cut them out of your mind, because all you're doing is wasting energy on something you can never change. But the reality is that most of the things in our lives, we have some control over. We can have lots of control over some things. So rather than fear, look at each of those things and thinking, what exactly am I fearing? And harness it. What can I do about that? What have I got in my toolkit that can help me? Who do I know that can help me? And use that to get over what you want. Because I can promise you, when you worry about the fact that you may not be enough, honestly, I'm just an average person. I haven't got any more strengths and talents than anybody else. Mine may be similar to yours, or they may be slightly different. You've got the same as me. I've just learned how to use them. And that's the same with you. It's just learning how to use what you've got to get you to where you want to be. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. Ashish should be there to be hearing what you just said. There's one more question that I want to take, which is kind of similar to what you just said now. How did you balance the outside influence on you when things were down? This is by N. Shankar. And he also says, really inspiring. Hello to Laura and Shri. So, how did you balance the outside influence on you when things were down?
Well, actually, there were some times where it was really, really hard. There was a time, for example, when I was going through an ankle replacement surgery, major surgery. My daughter was going through some very difficult medical issues. And out of the blue, on top of all that, my father died. He was the center of my universe. And it was, I think it was probably the toughest time I've ever had to face. And honestly, I wanted to feel I could sit at the bottom of the swimming pool and just never come back up. You do hit rock bottom and you do feel terrible. But then you've just got to say to yourself, you know what? I've got to find a way. So back to your purpose. You look at your purpose, you start putting one foot in front of the other, and you start moving forwards. And then you start adding things. What do you need in your life to help you? What makes you feel better? One of the things absolutely I can vouch for is, who are your supporters? Who are the people that you can go to? Who keeps you up? Who knows your purpose? Who's there when you need them? I have some fantastic friends. I have wonderful family. I've got some people in my life who I'm so, so thankful for, and they are the ones. Get around those people. Surround yourself by positive people who lift you and help you and support you wherever you are. I think that's one of the key things. And another thing, actually, I know it's weird to say, but also I know exercise. It's good for the brain. It's good for you physically. It produces the right positive hormones that make you feel good. It raises how you are. So I always say, find something. No one's asking anyone to be the next, Dubai marathon runner, but it might be yoga. It might be dance, anything. Walking, whatever lights your fire, swimming, do something, because that also helps you to find the balance. And one of the things I do all the time is I practice gratitude and I practice mindfulness. And when I say that, it's about purposefully thinking about where I am, what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, what I want to do with that. And Marty Seligman, who is he's the guru of positive psychology, he has an exercise called 3 Good Things. And he says every night, or it could be every morning, I do mine at night, is think of 3 great things that happened to you today that made you feel good. And instinctively, it makes you feel much better about your situation. So it's finding the little things. I also have a victory list. This is something that Stephen Covey talks about. And that is, every time I achieve something that's difficult, that I find hard or it's taking me time, I write it on a victory list. And you have to physically write it. Don't just print it on your computer. But you look at that list, and it is such a powerful motivator to see the things that you've been able to achieve. And it really inspires you to move forwards. So these are some of the concepts that perhaps help get the balance of the negatives in our life. That and drinking quite a lot of coffee.
Okay, I guess the person must have got his answer. And Ashish says, Laura, thank you, thank you, thank you. You have given the answer I have been looking for. Thank you so much for the reply. And before I take on a few more questions from the viewers, I just want to ask you. So you have been an athlete. You've been running in the mornings, and and you've been a person, like as you said, you're an activator. You are like always on the move and very fast and getting things done. So between the time the accident actually happened, so I'm taking you back to that incident. So between the time the accident happened and between when you could actually get up and start walking and or get a little more active, what was going in your mind? What were your thoughts? What were your feelings? What was happening around
I found it very difficult to be in a wheelchair. As I said, I am really, I've done always a lot of sport and I have a lot of energy, and sport is part of my life. So I found that very, very, very difficult. One of the things that I did to help me before I was allowed out of the wheelchair, I just felt that if I got physically and mentally fit, it would make me feel better. And so actually I was really good. From lying in my bed, I did arm exercises, leg exercises. I did all those kind of things that I could do, that I was allowed to do, whilst I had no impact on my legs. And I remember that after being in the wheelchair for about, I think I was in the wheelchair for about 3 months. And we went back to the hospital, and I was so excited to be out of the wheelchair. And the surgeon said, no. I was utterly crushed. He said, you're it's so bad. Because at the time, originally after the accident, they thought they may have to amputate my legs or my feet. And they honestly thought I'd never walk again. So they said, no, we can't possibly let you try and get up and walk or anything else. And I was crushed. Because for me, it was a complete mindset, very, very, very difficult. And I really had to work hard on conjuring up successful, positive outcomes for myself to keep myself going. When I was allowed to eventually get out of the wheelchair and walk, I mean, the surgeon couldn't believe that I could do it. I forced myself. I got up and I literally, with everyone's help, I took one step at a time until eventually it led to being able to walk, with the help of crutches and everything else. And I've had to do this every time I've gone back for major surgery because I've been back off my feet. I think that one of the difficulties is that as soon as I feel I'm back on my feet and I'm doing things again, then I go back and have more surgery and I'm back in that space. And I have to say, you do connect in again with that not again feeling. And it is hard. You just got to keep saying, what can I do? What can I do? I think the thing that irritated me and still irritates me is, I have to say though, that I can walk faster on crutches than a lot of people can jog, as it happens. And I still do probably every other day. I mean, one day I do cross trainer. The next day I walk 10 kilometers. And I still do that. But I can't run. And this not being able to run is still something I find really hard, especially if I'm out and I see other people running. That is still tough to deal with. And when they say to me, oh, well done you, I think, oh, be quiet. Well, I was really good. And I still have to deal with that. That is a mental challenge. But as I said, I say to you, do as I say and try and do as I do. But it's something that challenges me and I keep working on.
Do you see a possibility of getting back to running anytime soon?
Yeah. No, I'll never be allowed to do that. I think, to be honest, every single surgeon, doctor, physio, I don't know, every medical person that looks at my x-rays says to me and looks at my feet, they say, when you look at this, we cannot understand how you're walking on it because everything tells us you should be unable to walk at all. They say to me they don't know how I do it. Honestly, I don't know how I do it, but I do it. And, I'm not going to sit there and think, oh, my goodness, how much is it hurting? Can I? I just think I accept it at face value. I can do it and I do what I can. But I know for a fact that I'm very lucky to be able to do what I do. I think that at the moment, I have beaten every surgeon's expectation of what I can do at this stage. But running's not going to be one of those things. But then, this thing, positive thinking, find a different solution. Think of something else I can do instead. So I still do a lot of sport, but very different.
Okay. Umesh Agarwal has a question. It says, can faith replace our fears? Both seem to be the state of mind. Is it?
I think, your faith is your beliefs and your values, and so are your strengths. So everything is about, all of this is, actually belief is actually a particular strength anyway, how strong that might be. But truly, everything we do is having faith in what we do, right? If we don't believe in it, whether it's about believing in a God, or whether it's belief in what we can do, it's if we don't believe in whatever that is, it doesn't matter. We'll never achieve anything. So faith, I happen to be Christian. I'm a Catholic. I have my own beliefs in where I'm going. I do believe I'm here for a purpose. I didn't die, and there's a reason for that. But how we use that and how we, has to come down to self-belief and how we want to promote that. If we believe in ourselves and our options, that's what promotes us and allows us to go forward.
So you mentioned something just now about being given a second opportunity at life, kind of a statement you made just now. Because at that moment, the accident that happened with you could easily have taken your life, God forbid. Yeah. So
this redefined my purpose. Yeah.
So how did you approach life post the accident, in terms of not just resilient, in terms of your relationship, in terms of your career, or everything else?
Post-accident, Sridhar, did you say?
Yeah. Yes. Was there any difference in terms of who you were before and how you approach life later?
Well, I think probably the key thing is that, to be honest, at the very beginning, I was just trying to get myself normal, feeling normal again, I recognized I didn't want to die. I think even Steve Jobs said that, most people want to go to a heaven or to a better place, but none of us want to die to get there. And honestly, truly, when I was lying in the road, I thought, no, I'm really not ready to be going anywhere yet. That was a fact. And I think that at the start, I was just going through the motions of fixing. So I wasn't really able to think much beyond that at that stage because, I was using every resource I had to be functioning. Once I was kind of more back on my feet, I started, it was actually, somebody posed a question to me. What do you think was the purpose of your accident? And I thought, what a peculiar question. And then it gave me so much food for thought. And I realized, you know what? I didn't die. But what I have learned about myself in this time is that I have learned about the power of personal strengths. I've learned about mindset. I've learned about resilience. And if I can do this, I absolutely believe that I can help others do the same. And this has become my key purpose in life. It kind of gave me a direction to say, I know it's possible to thrive. I know it is. But the thing is, so many of us, we kind of do what we do every day, and we kind of accept our circumstances, and we kind of think, yeah, but if that happened to me, I probably couldn't because I might not be able to. But there is so much we can do. And this gave me a complete purpose and direction. So everything that I've done thereafter or since that time has been based around that. How do I make me better, stronger? What am I learning about myself? How can I use that to help other people who might not be there in that space yet, or who are struggling and they don't know how to manage that? So that's where it's made the key difference to where I'm going and where I see things. In terms of the rest of my life, the other side of the balance, one thing I will say is that don't put off anything that you can do today, because none of us know how long we're going to be here for. And I have just thought, I don't want to live a day having regrets that I didn't do something that I wanted to do and be held back by the feeling scared of the unknown and thinking I better not try. Because I don't ever want, when I realized that my time could have been up, I thought, God, there's still so much I want to do. So if you're in that space, do it. Because none of us, don't wait. Do what matters to you most. And also, I think what's really important is to be sure that your family will know how much they mean to you, because we don't get any of that back. So I like to hope that I can do that for my family and my friends.
Very inspiring. Especially, don't postpone anything that you should be doing today or could be doing today till tomorrow. You never know tomorrow morning what happens. Yeah, exactly. Fantastic. So let's take a few more viewers' thoughts and questions. Who says? Rukesh Naik says, very inspiring. LinkedIn user says, I like the concept of the three positives, as it is so easy to focus on negative. Shankar says, thanks, Laura, and worth following when chips are down, as suggested by you. Ron Malanga, thank you also for opening about your frustrations as well. Your willingness to show your vulnerabilities amplifies your character, your struggle, and your resilience. And we have Noshin saying, great resilience building tools being discussed, really informative. So tell us all a little bit about your family. Like, who do you have in your family?
So, well, here I have, I have obviously my husband's here, and I have a son and a daughter. My son is, he's 20. He, at the age of 5, decided he wanted to be an airline pilot. Furious at 10 that we wouldn't send him off to pilot school, and he had to go to secondary school. And we said, they won't take you at your age. Focus on your strengths. And he's been a child that we've always worked on. He was young for his year anyway, and he finished his schooling with very good results, got into the top flight school in Europe 2 years early, and has qualified, I think the youngest to qualify, as an airline pilot. Now, of course, we've had lockdown and it was awful. So he's used his strengths. He developed a pilot's podcast, and today he has just published his first book on life as a cadet. So very, very proud of him and his achievements and what he's done. And I have a daughter who's 17, who she is amazingly gifted at art. And she is a child who has had an awful lot of challenges. She was diagnosed a few years back with ADD and depression. And she's been through some very tough times, but my days, she has really, really brought herself around, worked so hard to redevelop herself and to achieve such amazing things. So I'm hugely, hugely proud of them both, as you can probably tell. So that's it. And then otherwise, the rest of my family are, I have a brother and his family who are in UK, and my mother, who, like everyone else, I haven't seen for a long time because of the lockdown scenario.
Okay, that's really awesome. Your son, you said, is 20, right?
He's 20. Yep.
And he already authored a book today. It's released today.
Yes, over lockdown, because I said to him, "Come on, what are you going to do to be? You can't sit and whinge that the aviation industry is shut at the moment. you need to be doing something proactive. And he said, right. So he left Dubai, went back to UK, got himself a job in a juice bar, making some money, and set up this pilot's podcast called Pilot Pals for connecting aviators and people in the aviation business. And he's kind of connected with other people. And he said, right, I'm going to write a book and tell people about what it is if you want to join and you're passionate with a career. And so that's what he's done. So, yeah, very, very inspiring, in fact. So dead chuffed.
Very inspiring.
First one in our family to do that.
Very inspiring. Going back to resilience, just a quick thought I had, and I wanted to ask you now. Some people have a huge setback, like the way you had a major accident. Someone may have a series of loss in their family. Someone may have a huge loss financially. So there is on one side a major, huge setback, and then there is these day-to-day challenges or subtle challenges that people are faced with. How different in these different scenarios? How does one actually be resilient? For example, now during COVID, I think people are under tremendous stress, losing job, losing clients, losing business is getting shut down. So these may not be as bad as uh, getting hit by a car and literally facing death or something else. But how does one actually cope up with this and pivot?
Do you know what? All of us have a story to tell. All of you who are listening in today, you've all been through horrible times. You've all got something you could share with me, I'm sure. Okay. This is life. We're constantly challenged, constantly. What I would say, it is about, you have to understand your strengths. You've got to be able to work on promoting where you're naturally strong. Use that to elevate you. Work in your circle of influence. Start with the thing that is giving you the most pain. For mine was physical pain, but what is the thing that's upsetting you the most? Start with that. And for everything that's upsetting you, if you put that in your circle of concern and you start to look at each individual thing and say, what can I do about this? What can I do? You will find that there are things that you can do that will help you in a difficult time. Will it solve everything? No. Okay, but you know what? Life is always going to challenge us, but there are always things that we can do proactively that can keep us on the up. I'm happy to speak with anybody if they're struggling in this direction, because it's what I do. But honestly, truly, there are lots and lots of things. Start with your circle of influence. Look at that and work small, tiny steps, one thing at a time, until you feel that you're catching control of your situation. You can't do it all, but you will definitely be able to improve where you are.
Thank you. And time is flying because we are almost nearing an hour. So let me just kind of wrap this whole thing up. And Laura, tell me something. Have you written a book already? Have you ever thought of writing a book? Tell us a little bit about that.
I am. I've just, you know what? This is one of the things I felt. 7 years was a bit of a. They talk about the 7-year itch or whatever that might be, and I just thought it was quite a good time to think about that. And I'm writing a book right now on resilience. There's a lot of the things I'm speaking about today, going into a bit more depth on them, coming up with with things that I managed, strategies and how I found them, and things that I think could be useful for you or anything else. So just for something, for you guys who've been kind enough to listen, as a thank you for tonight, if you would be interested in receiving a free copy of my book when it comes out, please drop your email address into the chat for Sridhar, and I will ensure that when I'm published, I will make sure that you're the first ones to get a copy of it. And yes, I'm working on that right now, whilst it's a bit quieter and I have the time as well. So I'm very keen to be getting on with this, and I hope somewhere around the end of the year, beginning of the next, it will be coming out.
Okay, that's great. So all of you who have been here today attending this live interview and are interested in getting a free copy of Laura's book that's going to be published soon, please drop in your email in the chat box, or you could just write to me at hello@vsridhar.com, and I will ensure that your details are passed on to Laura. Quickly, there's one final thing, Sri. This is Joanne. I did Circle of Concern previously with Laura. It was so powerful and turned around my ability to handle a bullying situation. So I don't know who
Fabulous.
this is. LinkedIn. So this is Joanne. Yeah. Yeah. So
Thank you, Joe.
I think we'll kind of wrap this up now. Thank you very much, Laura, for being here with me on this show to be talking about resilience and inspiring the audience and enriching their minds. And that's what this is all about. And I hope you and wish you all the best in life and more successes. And I wish you really great success on the book. I will do all my best to help you market that. So thanks a lot once again.
Thank you so much. Really, really enjoyed this. Thank you for asking me, Sridhar. And if anybody has, if anyone has got some questions still that's outstanding, please, feel free to email me or ask Sridhar, and we can take it from there. But thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me on this live interview and on Let's Talk Resilience. As I mentioned before, this is a series of talk shows on various topics. We'll be talking about Let's Talk Success, Let's Talk Finance, Let's Talk Relationship. So stay tuned for more things to come. And going live on Tuesdays in the afternoon show, I will be bringing to you on the Think and Grow Rich Success Principles, inspiring information, knowledge to enrich your minds very soon. So stay tuned and follow me on LinkedIn. And this is going to be live on LinkedIn and Facebook. Thank you very much. Wish you all good night, good day, wherever you're from. Cheers.